Hey everyone, Gill Gross here, post-match. Grigor Dimitrov versus Cam Norrie, Indian Wells 2021 semifinal. If you're not here for spoilers, click off the video in 3, 2, 1. The miraculous season of Cam Norrie continues, a candidate for most improved player in 2021, along with many others. He secures a straight set victory over Grigor Dimitrov, 6-2, 6-4. He's in the final where he'll face the winner of Taylor Fritz and Nicholas Basilashvili. Well, he had a day to prepare with his coach Facundo Lagones, and it was very clear what the game plan was. And not that this is the most intricate thing in the world, but Norrie was going to pepper the Grigor Dimitrov backhand, and he was going to be ready for Dimitrov's slice. So first of all, you have to be effective at finding Dimitrov's backhand because Grigor has very quick feet. He's very good at running around the backhand to hit forehands. And one of the things Cam Norrie does very well is get a lot of angle on his forehand. And I was continuously impressed throughout the match with just how much width Norrie was able to get on his cross-court forehand. And by the way, I think Dimitrov would say the same thing in terms of what his advantage would be. The same thing for him. He'd say, well, I have an advantage going into Cam Norrie's backhand, and I fancy my forehand there. But in reality, the advantage that Norrie had on the ad side cross court versus the advantage that Dimitrov had on the do side cross court, it wasn't even close in this match. It wasn't even close. Norrie's advantage was far greater. And it felt like the battle that Dimitrov was fighting every time the ball got in on his backhand was a very uphill battle. In the beginning of the match, I thought Dimitrov was looking to slice his backhand down the line more often than cross-court. Usually he slices cross-court, and against Hurkacz and against Medvedev, it was effective. I discussed that. He's hitting into flat backhands and giving them low contact points, and it's tough for them to gain any advantage in the point off of Dimitrov's slice backhand cross court. But against Cam Norrie, a lefty, that same very shot, that cross court slice backhand, which Dimitrov hits so very well, goes into Norrie's forehand. Norrie's forehand is a shot that, as I said, generates plenty of topspin, has plenty of racket speed, and he is going to be able to punish that shot both cross-court and down the line. Where Hurkacz and Medvedev, they're pretty much massaging the ball back cross-court unless they somehow find a runaround forehand. So Dimitrov says, oh, that's okay, because guess what? Medvedev and Hurkacz have a flat pace-absorbing backhand that doesn't like slice. Guess what? I think Cam Norrie has a flat pace-absorbing backhand that won't like slice. I'm going to slice it down the line. Problem solved. That didn't work. It didn't work because it's a harder shot to execute. It's much tougher to slice the ball down the line. Yes, you're hitting over the high part of the net. You're having to time a redirection off of Norrie's cross-court forehand. The baseline is closer, so you have less court to hit into. Yes, all those things are true. But even if you hit the shot well, even if you hit the shot correctly, it's hard to get it to Norrie's backhand. Norrie is going to run around and find himself a lot of forehands, and that's what he did. And I thought he leaned that way very often. And I think that was probably something that he planned and that he talked about with his coaches, that when Dimitrov slices that backhand, he's probably going to go down the line. Well, scare him off of that shot by running around and hitting forehands. And the reason why a lefty can do that a lefty and Norrie can do that. Well, what about Hurkacz? What about Medvedev? Couldn't they do that too? To an extent, yes, but it's harder for them. Let me show you why. The red dot is in the middle of the court. That is where that is where Dimitrov's opponents will likely hit their split step in the middle of the court. And I have two lines here coming from Dimitrov's backhand side. One is going to be a cross-court slice. One is going to be a down-the-line slice. The cross-court shot, the nature of it, because it comes from the opposite court, there's a lot of opportunity for it to generate width, to break the sideline. And by nature of the cross court, it's tailing away from the red dot. It's moving away from that red dot, which means a right-hander, picture that red dot as a right-hander. A right-hander needs to make up a lot of ground. They got to get their feet all the way into the doubles alley oftentimes in order to run around a well-struck cross-court backhand slice. Now let's change the handedness of the red dot. Let's make it a lefty, and let's hit this backhand slice down the line. Norrie does not need to go as far. The ball is not tailing away from his forehand. It's a linear stroke, and the line is going to be a lot shorter. That gray line, less ground. So Norrie's finding forehands off of that. So early in the match, Norrie finds a lot of forehands. And ultimately, what was the result? Ultimately, the result was that Dimitrov somewhat ditched the slice every backhand strategy and went to about a 50-50 mix. And that's a victory for Cam Norrie. Dimitrov hitting 50% drive backhands, that's a victory for Norrie because the slice is better than the drive. And you're going to get more errors off of the Dimitrov drive and many more errors. And it's going to be a shot left in the middle sometimes. It's just not Dimitrov's best shot. And he ends up hitting 13 unforced errors off the backhand, 1 winner, 0 forcing shots. Pretty brutal net negative stats on the Dimitrov backhand in this match. Why wasn't the other way why didn't the other way cancel it out? Dimitrov forehand to Norrie backhand? Because that Norrie backhand has unbelievable depth on it. Really amazing depth. And I don't think Dimitrov could really get his forehand going as well as he did in the other matches against Medvedev and Hurkacz in this match. In general, it was a bit of a down performance by Dimitrov. I won't deny that. The forehand is the shot that the entire game looks to set up. And Dimitrov missed too many forehands in this match that he has to make. There's no doubt about that the forehand was a little bit off, that it's going to be hard for Dimitrov to win when the forehand is a little bit off. But all in all, it really felt and looked like a bad matchup. And the only way to overcome that, here Norrie has this great cross-court strategy. He's executing it brilliantly. And by the way, Dimitrov, he didn't have the rally tolerance advantage. So if he was just going to stay super patient on the backhand, just really ultra patient and slice middle, slice middle, slice middle, he was going to lose that battle as well. The only way Dimitrov could have won this is if he outserved Norrie. And to illustrate that, I'll kind of give an example of like a Matteo Berrettini. Matteo Berrettini, everyone knows to go to the backhand and go to the backhand and go to the backhand. The reason why that game plan is difficult to execute and only the elite players like a Novak Djokovic who beat him at 3 majors this year can execute that is because in order to get into that pattern, you got to get it to his backhand and you have to get into a rally. So I think a big problem in this match, the reason why this became a straight set, straightforward match because of that problematic kind of uphill battle that Dimitrov was fighting on the backhand side is because Grigor wasn't getting much out of his serve. And I know this is true because it's easy. You look at 0 through 4 shots on Dimitrov's serve. And Grigor won 18 points and Norrie won 12. Okay. That means Dimitrov got a slight advantage from his serve. Once you get to the medium length rallies, maybe, and Dimitrov was actually quite good, winning 10 points to 6 in the medium length rallies. But once you get 9+ shots, by the way, then it swung way towards Norrie because he was tougher in this match when it comes to rally tolerance. But if you're only winning 18-12 on shots 0 through 4, your serve isn't doing that much for you. Norrie, 21-5. So Norrie's serve much more effective. It's a pretty good way to look at it. You go to shots 0 through 4. If you're winning points quickly on your serve, it probably means you hit a good serve that gave you an advantage, or you hit a serve that didn't come back, even better. And Grigor wasn't able to do that. That's how he could get his forehand involved and take his backhand out of the picture, if he hit good enough serves. But it was tough because on a slow court like this, that wasn't really going to happen. Norrie was going to neutralize that Dimitrov serve. He was going to get it to Grigor's backhand, and he was going to be really difficult to deal with in that pattern. And I want to just end by giving all the credit in the world to Cam Norrie, because Dimitrov has played lefties before. He has had a very long career, and you might be wondering, well, Gill, wouldn't this be an issue anytime Dimitrov played a lefty that doesn't have a forehand like Adrian Mannarino, which doesn't handle slice well? The thing here's where you got to give a lot of credit to Norrie. Dimitrov, I think, has been fine against lefties. The way I sorted this was I went to only ATP, so take out the challenger results early in his career. I went to top 50 because Norrie's a top 50 player, really top 20 player here in 2021. But I just went top 50 players. Let's see how he did. 27 wins, 27 losses. Gill, that's not that good. I know. He had to play Nadal 15 times. 14 losses, 1 win against Nadal. So he's had a pretty positive record against top 50 ATP players who are lefty, which means this isn't a deal where, like, Dimitrov's helpless against lefties. I just think Norrie is extremely tough in this pattern. He dealt with the slice really, really well. He was opportune when he got forehands off of that slice. He handled it super well. He was disciplined when Dimitrov did get the slice to his backhand, and he was just so good at hitting enough angle to get to that backhand, not to mention he got in the rally. So this felt like a total checkmate by Cam Norrie. So congratulations to him. I do think Grigor was probably dealing with a little bit of fatigue from the last 2 matches, but that's what Norrie gets. That's his reward for absolutely blowing out a less than... It was just a weird performance by Schwartzman. I don't know what the heck that was, but that's Norrie's reward for playing an unbelievable match and just blowing the brakes off of Diego Schwartzman, is that he came in a lot fresher. And you know what? I mean, what a season he's having. He's had a better season than Dimitrov. So in that respect, it wasn't all that surprising of a result, but I do think there was a matchup edge here. Let's see how he does in the final. Great to see Cam Norrie, who has just had such a fantastic breakout season, find himself in a Masters 1000 final. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.